This is the Isle of Man talking. The Mannin Line.
The Nation Station. Manx Radio.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Text, email, call and WhatsApp. And if you have anything to follow up on what happened yesterday, Claire Barber, MHK, the DEFA Minister, was in with her chief exec, Steve Stanley, talking about, well, tons really, but we didn't major on ivy quite a lot and the death of trees on the Isle of Man. 50% of trees, she reckoned, were in trouble on the Isle of Man. So we've got to replace a lot of trees, don't you think? Couldn't the stinky seaweed be collected and used by farmers and agriculture as cheap fertiliser, says Julie. That was... Wilf who called yesterday, and there was some seaweed on South Beach. I wonder, is that responsibility? Is that the Commissioner's responsibility to get that? Or Dick just said, Steve said that ash dieback was unexpected, but it reached Europe from China in 2007, got to the UK in 2012, and here in 2017. Jeffrey Boot debated it in 2018. So why, with 21 years' notice and hundreds of thousands of ash, was it unexpected? Well, there's nothing we can do about it. That is one thing. There's absolutely nothing we can do about ash dieback on the Isle of Man. So apart from mitigate it, apart from cut the darn things down and replace trees, plant some more trees. But I'm sure lots of people have got them, and maybe you've got a dead ash tree in your garden perhaps, or on any land near you. So what's going to happen to that? Does it just die away? Does it just become a stump? Does it get cut back? Do you need permission to cut down a dead ash tree? Normally you need a license to cut down a tree, but if the darn thing's gone, can you just lop it off? Call, email and fluoridation was a big topic yesterday. Mark dropped a note in just to say fluoridation of domestic water is a long practice technique. It provides the benefits that have been stated. The ability of dentists, the availability of dentist argument is surely to do with the dental decay that can be prevented by fluoridation. Is it not better to have good dental health from fluoridation than employ dentist after the dental decay has occurred? Oh, I see. Repair rather than prevention. Yes, there's a lot of scaremongering by people who cherry-pick obscure, badly researched scientific papers, Mark's words, often involving small cohorts of data. These papers then extrapolate beyond what the data is telling them to claim large-scale effects on the whole population. I think this is scaremongering, says Mark. Luckily, those who are looking at the issue of island fluoridation are seeing this type of paper for what it is and discounting it. As to the claim that hexafluorosilicic acid is a waste product and therefore supposedly not fit for this purpose, a compound only becomes a waste when there's no use for it. It's just a label used for disposal when the substance has no economic value. In the case of hexafluorosilicic acid, this isn't the case. It's therefore irrelevant how it's made as long as it's of the correct purity for the purpose that is relevant, says Mark. And that's fluoridation, according to Mark today. Julian's with us. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Better ask Mark why it says do not swallow on toothpaste packets then, because there must be a reason for that.
I think because it's too much of it's bad for you, isn't it?
Correct. And we are a nation of tea drinkers. And if Mark would like to look at the research on tea, quite a lot of fluoride in that, because it's fluoride is uptaken as a natural thing through the tea root. So, you know, if you're a nation that's already getting some fluoride from that, perhaps it's better to I don't know, just give out some free toothpaste to people and teach them. I don't know. Reason I'm ringing. Yesterday, the BBC reported on 46-year-old Eddie Jackson from East Belfast, who died whilst riding an e-scooter when he collided with a Mercedes GLA on the Knock Road. Coincidentally, last week in Harlesden in London, Sky News reported on 37-year-old Del Williams, who narrowly escaped when his e-scooter burst into flames in a communal kitchen in his terraced house. He spent 8 hours in hospital suffering from toxic smoke inhalation. London Fire Brigade Deputy Commissioner Don Ellis has issued a stark warning to e-scooter users about the risk as the incidents continue to rise, causing sudden and ferocious fires. And then more pertinent to the Isle of Man, further afield in the city of Oshawa, which is Oshawa in Canada, the Ontario Ministry of Transportation has just started an e-scooter pilot scheme permitting them on the roads. But sadly, after only 3 weeks into the scheme, a 20-year-old woman who was riding an e-scooter illegally on the pavement collided with a pickup truck leaving a petrol station. She died from severe injuries on the way to hospital. The e-scooter company named Bird, B-I-R-D, offered condolences, but the pilot scheme continues. Oshawa City Councillor Rosemary McConkey is calling for an immediate stop to the scheme, and she said, e-scooters are going on sidewalks when we were told they couldn't. McConkey, along with fellow councillor Jane Hurst, was only one of 2 out of 9 councillors who originally voted against the pilot scheme. And another one, finally, is 9 days ago in Charlotte, North Carolina. 16-year-old Carla Sevilla, whilst riding on an e-scooter, was killed in a collision with a car in front of police officers who'd been directing traffic at a road junction. And I'm just minded of what Bonzo correctly said last week. Going on pavements is unenforceable. It's a license to fill up A&E. And as you rightly asked, Bonzo, who do you think in DOI looked at this and said, it's a goer? So the question is, should we be having a chat with whoever's in DOI that's saying this? Because, you know, it's reminding me of what happened to that cyclist at St John's in 2021 on the Curragh Road. And that was due to a badly thought-out, uncontrolled crossing, wasn't it?
I could also go a bit closer than that. Myself, actually, last night, I left the radio station about 7 o'clock last night, and I was driving by that collection of bus stops that they laughingly call the bus station on Lord Street yesterday. And if you were queuing for a bus at that time, you would have seen a young man on an electric scooter with his girlfriend standing behind him, cruising down the pavement.
Yeah, that is well known, especially where they've gone early with this. That's in fact, I've seen one video with 2 kids and the father on one going along the road.
This was last night, and there must have been at least a dozen people waiting at those 4 bus stops, and as though without a care in the world, sailing down the pavement with his girlfriend on the back.
Yeah.
I mean, these things have a very high centre, a very low centre of gravity, but of course with the weight of people on top of them. And I don't quite know how they're going to enforce people ride on pavements now on bikes.
Correct. And, you know, even the e-bikes, I mean, you know, we haven't really seen too much of it as yet. However, there has been some evidence of e-bikes catching fire as well. So, you know...
What bothers me more about this is just the fact that scooters, by their very nature, are... I mean... If anybody catches someone on a scooter, they'll be over, and these things can do quite a lick. And to put them on main roads is what they're saying that where they should be. But to say they shouldn't go on pavements, it's going to be human nature. People will go on pavements. If there's a busy road and an empty pavement, some people will just leap onto the pavement and zoom along on their e-scooter.
And, of course, the other thing you have to think about is that unlike a bicycle with a large diameter wheel, you've got a small diameter wheel and a very short wheel travel up and down with its short suspension. So you think about, say, quite a lot of places on the island now have got very high curbs, especially like Ramsey, Castletown. Seems to be de rigueur these days to stick these high pavements on, and there has been evidence of some elderly people sort of falling off and really hurting themselves on those.
And what happens if someone on an e-scooter illegally without permission, goes onto a pavement and takes somebody out, knocks somebody over. What happens if they happen to then, on the e-scooter, collide with a lead of a dog and they go over, base over apex? Who's responsible? Who's going to pay for it?
Yeah, there was a 6-year-old kid that was hit by a 17-year-old in the UK recently. Jamie Smith, I think it was. It's Jamie something. And now he won't even go out the door now. It's given him sort of fear of the outside world. And his face was absolutely smashed to pieces. And the 17-year-old got caught, but was actually a hit and run. So
what's your opinion? What do you think should happen? The DOI has said, he said a permissive approach, didn't he, Mr. Thomas? Said we should adopt a permissive approach to e-scooters.
Bad idea. Before somebody either, as Bonzo says, fills up A&E or doesn't even make it to A&E.
So we should rule them out straight away.
Not a good idea, is it?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, 18 minutes past 12. The birth rate is the lowest since the First World War. There are very few people having children now. Those that do don't have more than 2, possibly 3. How can government not supply school dentists? The government seems to exist for its own sake and has given up on taxpayers. That's Roy. It was a fact. There used to be school dentists. Dentists in schools. Maybe you were at school. Maybe you remember having a dentist at school, and we don't now. So is the answer is the mass fluoridation? Is that the idea? As Julian said, give out free fluoride toothpaste or tablets. Tablets used to be given at school. Fluoride tablets used to be passed into the young population. Given that fluoridation seems to work and seems to prevent dental caries, dental problems, is that what we should be doing, or should we be then, if we don't do that, is it the state's responsibility to hoover up the cost of people not looking after their teeth? And to a large extent, let's face it, a lot of dental treatment on the Isle of Man has been effectively privatised. Getting an NHS dentist is a difficult ladder to climb. Lots of people have given up and taken out private contracts, effectively privatising their dental care. Somebody somewhere has to make a decision whether to make NHS dentists a lot more available or just come clean and say, well, we've effectively part privatised it. We've privatised it for people who can afford it, i.e. rich people. Juan's on now. Hi, Juan.
Hey, boy, how's it going?
Good, yes. Do you like e-scooters?
Yeah, they're a brilliant idea. It's just the bubble wrap society, you know, like, somebody hurt themselves on the scooter of the week. We can't be doing that. It's like, come on, get over it. How are they going to fill the hospital up?
Have you got one?
No, I've got an e-bike. I never killed myself on that yet.
Okay, the problem seems to be the fact that e-scooters are going to be... You're not supposed to take e-scooters on pavements. How are we going to stop that?
Well, if you see people on the pavement, it's only a small place, isn't it? You're going to know who it is. And the next time the cop sees them, you can have a word on them. But we're so quick to ban things over here. Oh, we can't do that, it's too dangerous. Oh, yeah, we can't do that, it's too dangerous. We need to get the tourism over here sorted out. There's so much hills and lakes and stuff like that we can do stuff with. We could have a ski slope down the Snaefell, but someone will complain about the mark that the ski slope are put on the side of Snaefell. But it's all right to have a 100-year-old railway line going up with a big scar up the side of the hill. In them days, they did stuff straight away. They got it done. They built the railway line. They built the tourism industry. Now they're saying, oh, we got no tourists. Nobody's coming over to see the 100-year-old railway line. No, because it's 100 years old. Get with the times.
Where's this got to come from? Has it got to come from government, or should government be allowing private enterprise to do it?
Yeah, both. But they can't complain that nobody's coming here when there's nothing to do. Do you know what I mean? You get the water sport things. We could get lakes sorted. We could get the forests, get mountain bike tracks organised, proper ones put in there, instead of people doing it off their own backs, going up into the forest and making their own little tracks and stuff like this. People would flock here. If there was stuff to do for a weekend or a week, where you can fill it up. You know, I'm going over to the Lake District to go on my push bike. We're going to go surfing. We're going to do all these things. We've got sea everywhere. We could build I don't know how the sea works. I'm not a scientist, but build false reefs, get massive waves coming in.
Whereabouts are you going in the Lake District on your bike?
Anywhere. That's the thing. I don't know. I'm just going to go there and just see what it holds. But I know that there'll be loads of stuff to do. I'll take the kids. We'll have a good outside experience. But we should be doing that on island. But you know, you do one lap round Archipelago and it's like, right, okay, where should we go now?
So you think the government's missing a trick?
Yeah, definitely. Get it attractive for young visitors. People come over on their motorbikes for a weekend. Everyone complains that they're up the hills making a noise. Get over it, I think.
All right, Joan, have a lovely time in the Lake District.
Thank you very much.
All right, good to hear from you. A note in from Southern Andy who says, why does Manx Care not have a robust internal quality control system and process audit? It's obvious that it doesn't exist, as all the faults found by the CQC should be found by constant internal audit. Our health minister thinks that future recruitment would resolve the issue. Can the government understand they need to act now and resolve professionally with robust internal systems at Manx Care before loss of life occurs due to negligence? That's Southern Andy. Well, medicines that have passed their expiry date, oxygen canisters not stored appropriately, and blank prescription pads left in unlocked desk drawers are among some of the issues highlighted in the latest report into Manx Care, published by the CQC. The Care Quality Commission has today published 4 reports following inspections at Nobles Hospital and the Isle of Man's dental and GP practices. Several areas have been elevated to the Department of Health and Social Care for review. Now remember, we're supposed to be separating Manx Care and DHSC, but several areas have now been pushed to the political side for review. Health Minister Laurie Hooper, MHK, says patients shouldn't be deterred by what they hear.
I think there's lots of things that you see. For example, the mandatory training issue. They say that not everyone's done all the training they need to do, and not all the medicines have been checked properly. That actually comes down to when there are patients on the ground, do you want your staff off in a training room or do you want your staff in the ward treating patients? And ultimately staff will always prioritise patients. And so I think there's probably a lot of truth to say if we can help try and resolve the staffing problems, a lot of the other problems will almost resolve themselves as a result. But it's also fair to say that a lot of the stuff the CQC has identified is relatively fixable, actually. So you've identified a particular case there around an instance of out-of-date medicines on an operating tray. Well, actually, that can be addressed through making staff more aware of some of these things, through some improved training and through some more information to staff. So I think Manx Care are in a place where they know the things they can fix relatively easily, and also the things that will take a longer time to fix. And that's the job of the department now, is to support Manx Care through identifying some of those and then supporting them through how do we fix some of these problems.
I think with Manx Care we have really common themes with the same issues over and over again. So we know that waiting lists, we know they're being tackled, we know there's recruitment, we know it's been tackled. Ultimately, what's the message to patients on the Isle of Man though? Because obviously if they read these reports, the first thing everyone sees is the negative. So what's the message to a patient who might be thinking, I don't want to go up to the hospital?
I think the thing that the reports tell us is that the care that's being provided is actually pretty good. The staff are overwhelmingly, they are caring, they are compassionate, they want to do a good job. And I think it comes back to that message that even where there are problems that are identified, that nothing has been identified by the CQC that has put up a massive red flag for us. We haven't had to pull any service. We haven't had to suddenly go in and say you've got to stop doing that. Everything that's been identified is fixable. We think that, broadly speaking, everything's getting better as well. The feedback we get from staff, from patients, from the CQC themselves, is they can see this culture of improvement, that things are improving. And so for me, I think it gives us a lot of confidence that says, yes, we know we've got challenges, we know we have shortcomings, but they're not insurmountable problems.
There's Laurie Hooper, MHK. So that's the latest report from the CQC, the Care Quality Commission, published. It's an overview report and an action plan for Manx Care. 4 baseline reports looking at acute and community services, the Manx Emergency Doctors Service, MEDS, Manx Care leadership and governance, and integrated mental health services. Siobhan Fletcher's done a great report on that. If you want more information, go to manxradio.com. All the story is there. A note in from 653. It's important to add some context. Yesterday, you were talking about farming in the Netherlands and whether or not there was a globalist agenda to get rid of farming. And text to 653, all this comes down to too much waste for the size of the country to deal with. The Netherlands, which is the biggest meat exporter in Europe, is reducing its intensive farming by a third, and not completely, by a third, says text to 653. It's due to the amount of pollution that intensive meat farming produces. The manure, when mixed with urine, produces ammonia. It can get into lakes and rivers, which damages natural habitats, and there is a lot of water inland in Holland. So that's the note in from what was mentioned yesterday. Text us 653. Anything else? Do you follow up on what Claire Barber was talking about yesterday about growing more food on the Isle of Man? And my point to Claire was, it's going to cost more money. If we grow our own food, it will be more expensive. I love honey, and I buy Manx honey. It is not the cheapest honey to buy. Personally, I think it's the best honey in the world, but it is not cheap to buy. If you want cheap honey, you won't buy it. So does it follow? I don't know, maybe you can put me straight. Does it follow that if we grow food on the Isle of Man, it by necessity will be more expensive to buy at retail level than stuff that is imported from outside, stuff that's been grown at scale, industrially sometimes, and brought to the Isle of Man?
I found a great photo of Grandad on the Queen's Pier, Ramsey, back in the 50s. If only we could see this historic landmark in its full glory once more. Well, actually, we could see the pier restored, whether through a small donation, regular transfer, or the purchase of an engraved plank or stanchion. You can leave your mark on history. To donate, visit qprt.im or call Graham on 355 104. This audio has been kindly sponsored by Paul Carey & Sons.
If you're an excellent team player with the ability to work with paid and volunteer staff and love to be hands-on, St John Ambulance is recruiting for a commercial training manager. The successful candidate will work closely with the customer, St John trainers and students, and will plan the training calendar, manage trainer allocation and deliver courses when required. If you have a recognised trainer and assessor qualification and would like more information, including a full job description, then email ceo@sja.org.im.
When you need a fitting memorial or headstone for a loved one, contact Manx Memorials in Peel. This long-standing family-run Manx company offer a wide range of granite and marble headstones and memorials, along with an island-wide inscription and renovation service. Manx Memorials skilled professionals will take the time to help you choose a suitable memorial, and we're proud to say we'll beat other local quotes. Call 843 861 or email matthew@manxmemorials.co.uk.
Want to make a real difference to your home or workplace energy bills? The team at EMS Home Green have 30 years experience supplying and installing solar power and thermal systems, air and ground source heat pumps and battery storage. A complete one-stop eco-shop finding practical solutions to help you save money from day one. Call 613-210 or visit ems.co.im to arrange your no-obligation survey. EMS Home Green, for your greener home.
The Royal Air Force's P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft is one of the most state-of-the-art aircraft flying today. As part of the Battle of the Atlantic 80th commemorations, a P-8 Poseidon jet from RAF Lossiemouth will be flying over Queen's Pier in Ramsey this afternoon at 3. Come and watch the flypast from Queen's Pier itself, which is open from 2. And don't forget to bring a radio tuned to 1368 AM or catch us online from around 2:50 to catch all the action as it happens on your nation station, Manx
Mannin Line.
It's 12:30. Juan's with us. Hi, Juan.
Hey, what a beautiful day out, Andy.
It's another gorgeous day for going to Ramsey and watching that plane.
Yes, there you go. Good promotion for Ramsey. What's the news broadcast I heard this morning? Lack of vitamin D, is it?
apparently you should all be going to Florida for the winter.
But there you go. There you go. Now, I remember a conversation, was it 2 years ago now? I don't know whether it was when David Ashford's reign as health minister or whether it was a question to Dr. Allinson. And I asked a question of the promotion of, what was it? Oh, that's right, vitamin D. And they said it was non-effective, I think. And I think it was Dr. Allinson that said that. I remember talking about it during the COVID era, and I got a bit of a negative response. A bit strange, that, isn't it?
Well, now there's somebody else saying that we should.
Well, there's the surprise, isn't there? There's the surprise. I wonder how long it'll take someone to turn around and tell us, wind farms are not good for us, we'll do something else instead. It just goes to show, doesn't it? We get a different person in charge.
Well, this time it's the Director of Public Health who says it's we're all thought to be deficient in vitamin D.
Well, there you go. There you go. What a surprise. Just a bit of housekeeping on yesterday. And I was on hold when that other comment came through about the Netherlands. And I keep trying to pin down food security and the promotion of foodstuffs on the island, along with energy costs, the way things are going in the world. And it was interesting that what your texter said before. But when you look at what's happening in the Netherlands, and I touched on this yesterday, all you have to do is go on to the sites like Rumble, Redacted, Rebel News, which are not conspiratorial. They're actually showing you what's actually happening in these countries. And I think there's 3,000 farms they're trying to stop in the Netherlands. And violence, a lot of violence. I mean, the government and the police are out turning tractors over in the streets and stuff. And it's not pleasant, and it's taking people's businesses away from them and people's livelihoods and what they do with a passion. For what reason? And that's the thing here. I mean, they're trying to bring through this blockization of foodstuffs. And this is, I say, is relevant to what we have here in the Isle of Man. And I know Claire said about the future of farming and it's being very positive. And I just tend to question, it's been nearly 12 months, is it, since she was on last. I still tend to question that the farmers here are still saying that they're having issues and problems, which seems to be the problem that they have around the world, of governments interfering with stuff and not letting farmers get on with the job. And going to what you're saying there about us missing a trick, or what I think Shewan said about missing a trick earlier on there, I think we're missing a trick here with Farm to Fork. I mean, we must have one of the best traceable products of food that is going at the moment. Yeah. So I think the island should stand out proudly and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to support.
Well, do you remember at one time, and I don't know whether it's as much nowadays, but Jersey used to be known for, obviously, its milk, but also for its spuds. Jersey potatoes were world famous, and Guernsey tomatoes were world famous. And Manx spuds are great. So I don't pretend to know that much about agriculture, but I do talk to a lot of farmers. And, if we could find a Manx crop or a Manx food that is iconic, like Manx spuds, and it could be Manx wheat or whatever it is, but just do something with it and make it famous and, make it cheap so that nobody eats anything apart from Manx spuds.
And we are unique here. I mean, the last time I went to Guernsey, it was very sad to see all them big greenhouses not getting used now for the tomatoes. As you said, it was a massive industry. And I think the world structure of food is being forcibly changed as we go along. And I think that if we didn't go along with the main agenda, which the strapline always seems to come into this, is climate change seems to come into it. And I don't know, is it, a few cows farting is going to make a difference, is it, Andy, to the structure of the world? They seem to think it is. It's going to kill us all. You look around the island and, everyone's like, you go out for a country drive and it's nice to see the sheep and the cows. And if these globalist agendas have their way, there's going to be no sheep and cows there because people are not going to keep them as pets.
I think it's fairly well accepted that it doesn't matter a ha'porth what we do on the Isle of Man in terms of impact on climate because we're a tiny jurisdiction. Yeah. However, However, what people say is because we're international in terms of finance, we have to show up. We have to be seen to do things. So that's where our agenda is being driven by the fact that it wouldn't be good for our reputation politically or financially and in business if we were seen to just fold our arms and look the other way, Ewan.
Well, I think money talks there. If you turn around and lowered the tax rates, I'm sure big businesses wouldn't be turning away just because we've got a biosphere. It's all down to, as my little favourite line is, follow the money. And I think that's the same with all this, the green energy that we've got going on now. It's all following the money trail. If we get down to the depth of it, it's all following the money trail. Okay. Like you said, what we do here, I mean, we've got a beautiful little island here, and we're very green. We like looking after our island with people like Bill Dale and Beach Buddies, and all that kind of stuff is breaking ground with other people in different areas. And I think we could do our own thing here. And I keep saying that, I want to see our government on the right side of history when all this stuff comes crashing down around them. Okay. Because it's, I think we're missing a trick and not promoting our agriculture and our wheat and everything like that.
Okay. All right. I've got a dash, Ewan, because Wilf's waiting.
See you now.
Cheers now. Wilf, you're live. Hi, Wilf.
I'm always waiting somehow. Now, when I was on yesterday about the beach, I was hoping that DEFRA was going to come up back with something positive. But the thing was, as you got to switch your radio down and just listen on your phone, I've only got a mobile type, old-fashioned thing, and I'm half deaf anyway, and I couldn't hear a word they said, either of them. But I've been told since that it was nothing positive anyway.
No, they say DEFRA say they don't clean beaches.
No, but they're supposed to be an important part of the Isle of Man. They could push for it to be cleaned because Harbours said that we are responsible for it. We pay a fee to have that beach to Harbours. And I rang Harbours up and they said, you're definitely responsible to clean that beach. And our commissioners are hell-bent on not cleaning it. The last time it was cleaned properly was my old digger, which I haven't got anymore, and I lent it to the commissioners. And the fellow, Donald Walker, he was the driver. He went down on his own and pulled all the rotten seaweed back, and it got washed out by the tide. Now, that corner, that's all that's left when the tide is in. It's only a very small area. And it's covered in dead weed, and there's grass growing on it and everything. When it gets high enough, the birds will nest on it, then they'll fence that off.
So how much work is it going to take, Wilf, to get rid of it?
How much what?
How much work is it going to take? What are you going to have to do? What's somebody going to have to do to get rid of it, to clean it out?
A decent digger, an hour. You drag it out into the tide stream and let the tide take it out. Our prevailing wind is westerly. It's the east wind that fetches it in. When it's blowing westerly, the tide will take it out and the wind will take it out. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so if the commissioners are saying they won't do it, and everybody else is looking the other way, I mean, a privateer can't just turn up with a digger and take it away. That wouldn't be allowed, would it?
I told them in the meeting that if I had a digger on the road, I would go down and do it, and I wouldn't ask anybody, because I represent the people in Ramsey. The rest of them don't seem to bother. I seem to be the only commissioner that's talking about this, and there's hundreds of people go down, and the kids will be knocked off school shortly, and they'll want to go down. And it needs to be done. Anyway, there's something else now as well.
Okay, well, what I will say then is if anybody's got a spare digger, they don't mind lending, and it is not my idea, I'm not taking no responsibility for it, but if anybody's got a spare digger, you know who to contact. Anyway, go on, Wilf.
That's it. Right, now then. This was in private, but now it's been brought on Facebook this morning, I'm told, about the raft. The raft got smashed up in the gale, and they said it's going to cost £3,000 to fix it. which I think is ridiculous anyway, because it didn't cost £3,000 to build the damn thing. But anyway, they're talking about getting rid of it altogether, so it'll end up getting chopped up for firewood after all that money being spent on it. And there is talk of a plastic type thing that they have in Port Erin at the moment, but we're not talking about getting that until next year. So the kids are going to be very disappointed because it's costing so much, and it's an 8-week waiting list apparently to get this thing. So the summer will be gone before they get anything.
So no raft in Ramsey this summer?
No. No raft on a dirty beach unless they clean it up.
All right. Thanks, Wilf. Good to hear from you.
Okay.
All right, cheers. Here's Mark now. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, hi, Andy. How are you? Okay.
Good, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, good. I was listening to, I don't often agree with what David Ashford says, but I was listening to the news story on Manx Radio this morning where he was talking about self-sustainable energy, and it was actually really refreshing to hear someone talking about energy in a non-polarized way. So you're not trying to ram, green, or you're not trying to ram carbon down the listener's sort of viewpoint.
Yeah.
And I think he made a really interesting comment with regard to the UK being a net importer. And what a lot of people aren't aware of, that in the UK, at the end of 2022, the North Sea Transition Authority actually released, I think it was almost 900 blocks of offshore to be explored for gas, and they expect to issue, I think it's almost 100 new licenses over the course of the next year for gas as well. And it just shows you that sort of that multifaceted approach. It's wind, it's gas, in the UK it's nuclear. Personally, I wouldn't want to see nuclear on the Isle of Man, but it just shows you that it is very much sort of to be honest, I don't think anybody's got a clue about what the future holds, but it's important to have a belt and braces approach. And I just wanted to mention that. But my biggest worry about this whole thing is that at the heart of this is the Department of Infrastructure, and they've been talking about having wind farms over here for the last 10 years. We've got Kroger, who are looking to develop the gas fields now as well, and I hope they do it. But I just worry that a matter of this importance is actually being handled by the DOI, and they don't have a track record in delivering. I think, the easiest thing for them to do in situations like this is actually not to make a decision, because it's the easiest decision to make, not to make a decision. They don't make good decisions, but they don't make bad decisions either. And that's what I really fear for, Andy, going forward. That I think one of your previous listeners says, well, I hope we're on the right side of history. I think in 10 years' time, we might be looking back with, the gas field hasn't gone ahead, there's no wind farms, and there's no solar development. And I think it's just, I do worry about the strategic decision-making of the government.
Important to point out, as you say, that all around the world, people are still exploring for gas, trying to find gas, and to exploit gas. There are new gas fields being identified and drilled for here, there, and everywhere. And everybody is saying that it's a transition fuel. It's 25 years, and it's going to get us to where we need to get to. But obviously, we have to keep the lights on.
Well, absolutely. And in other places such as, let's take Bangladesh, for example, China is investing heavily into Bangladesh with renewables, but Bangladesh are also importing lots of gas. And I read an article about in Bangladesh, if you have one floating regasification storage unit, which is basically a unit which converts LNG from liquid state to gas state, that actually closes down 18 coal power stations. So, the gas demand is going to be there for the next 15, 20, 25, 30 years, because it's not just the UK that needs it, it's also the developing countries that are transitioning from coal, they're using gas as a transition fuel, and also renewables. So I just worry, as your previous caller says, that, in 10 years' time, will be the right side of the history, or will we still be talking about this now?
Interesting,
like we
Mark.
are now.
I mean, Mark, that's you make the point very well, the fact that we are in a transition stage. It's just that nobody knows how long the transition stage is.
Well, I think a lot of the... as you know, I'm in LNG shipping, so if you look at a lot of the... a lot of the sort of consultancies, they anticipate that gas will be around for the next, say 40 years, or to 2050 at the very least. And, the UK is actually, as David Ashford alluded to, they're actually looking at shipping more LNG gas into the UK because they're worried about the long-term effects. And it's not just about the Ukraine war. The gas prices were going up before the Ukraine war, and the Ukraine war, there was in a massive spike. Transition fuel, and it is gas, is there for the next 30, 40 years. But also we have to invest in wind, we have to invest in other areas as well. But I just worry that these big decisions are being left with a DOI, and there's some great people in there, but do they have the competency to actually make the right decision? Or will they just say, you know what, this decision is too big for us, we'll find some reason to kick it into the long grass, and we'll be in exactly the same position as we are now in the next 10 years.
Okay. All right, Mark, I appreciate your call. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Andy.
All right, 13 minutes before 1 on Mannin Line.
I began to struggle with the stairs, but I didn't want to leave our family home. So my daughter told me about Acorn stair lifts and their new showroom in Douglas. I was able to try the stair lifts and find the right one for me and the home I love. They were so friendly. The whole process was hassle-free, and they offered the whole package from installation to servicing. Choose the island's first choice for stair lifts. Acorn Stair Lifts, South Quay, Douglas.
Call Acorn Stair Lifts now on 672 414 or call into our Douglas showroom.
Spectrum Windows. If your house needs a new look and your windows letting rain, keep those cold breezes out and make it look like new again. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Quality through and through. Great work guaranteed to you. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows.
These days, time is a precious commodity. It's difficult to balance work, life and play, but enjoying quality rest and relaxation is essential for our overall well-being. We need downtime, time for ourselves, time for stressless. At Millichaps of Ramsey, most stressless recliners come in multiple sizes, so you're sure to find the perfect fit. Relax your body, free your mind, and discover the ultimate in comfort in the stressless studio at Millichaps.
We all use technology in our cars and homes. Why wouldn't you embrace it for running your business? At Nicola Bowker & Co, we help you understand the latest business tech, allowing you to spend more time running your business. Nicola Bowker & Co.
TT 2023 is almost here, and once again Manx Radio will bring you every moment of the action with the best biking station in the world.
How does this sound? Senior TT winner.
Sounds absolutely epic, doesn't it?
Practice and race commentary, great music along with the latest news, travel and weather updates.
And as well as all the action around the TT mountain course, we'll bring you the pre-TT practice and race sessions at the Blount circuit. You can listen online at manxradio.com and our smartphone app on AM 1368.
And for the first time this year on crystal clear DAB Plus in Douglas, Onchan and the Central Valley.
It all starts with our pre-TT coverage this Friday evening at 6 o'clock.
The best biking station in the world. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
11 minutes before 1 on Manx Radio. Regarding part 1 of Maryland on television last night, set on the Isle of Man, clearly filmed in Ireland. Says so at the end. I was disappointed at the 3 slurs against the Isle of Man, particularly that yuck comment as the ladies were drinking Fenoddery gin. Did you see that? The bottle clearly showed the product, potentially great advertising, but I feel this and the other 2 negative Isle of Man remarks would harm the Isle of Man and Fenoddery. So sad as the producers could have been so positive about the Isle of Man to promote it. Sadly, obviously not the island scenes, of course, and I didn't think they were as beautiful. Just to reiterate, this ITV series with Saran Jones could be filmed on the Isle of Man, but taxpayers' money wouldn't be used to fund it. The Enterprise Minister, as he was then, Alex Allinson, in 2022, confirmed that politicians received emails lobbying on behalf of the production company, but in Keys it was revealed that the 3-part television drama was going to be set, it was going to be filmed on the Isle of Wight then, but actually in Ireland. The subject was raised by Tim Glover Glover, who questioned how much funding the government department was providing for feature films and TV productions. Well, actually, we'll be talking about that when Enterprise Minister Tim Johnston will be in with the Chief Officer Mark Lewin. They're going to be in June after TT's wrapped up. We'll be finding out what Enterprise is doing and whether we'll ever get that TV and film industry back on the Isle of Man. Andy's with us now. Hi, Andy.
Hi there. Good day to you, Andy. Hope your voice doesn't give out.
Okay.
I sent a WhatsApp in, which I don't think you've got to, but I don't know because I've been in and out. But I did just catch Julian talking about the vitamin D.
Yeah.
And small correction, if I may. I believe he's only the interim Director of Health.
He is. Yes, he is.
Not the Director of Health. But I just wonder, because of this conflicting information, and he's only the interim Director of Health, firstly, how accountable is he, bearing in mind the previous fiasco with Dr. Megson? So how accountable is this interim Director of Health on what he advises and what could possibly go wrong? But also, please, has he any interests whatsoever in any drug or supplement-related companies that produce or sell vitamin D? Because is he conflicted in any way using his position to recommend and say about vitamin D supplements?
It's interesting. Well, we didn't ask him that. All we wanted to do was to find out whether, because this came up about vitamin D deficiency, and he says, but it's never been brought up as a big thing in the past. Have you ever heard it brought up before?
I haven't, other than what Julian mentioned, which makes me wonder, why is it that he's suddenly promoting it? Does he, in fact, have some financial interest some way or other? And just like a Tynwald member, when people come on and say something, they should, I think, give a disclaimer or whatever it is and state if they're conflicted.
Do you take vitamin D supplements? And
I take a combined supplement tablet for over 50s. And that's it. I get out in the fresh air and sunshine whenever I can, taking care to wear a hat so I'm protect myself from UV on the follically challenged head.
Okay. All right. Thanks for calling today.
Leave it with you.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. A dental nurse, this is a WhatsApp in, a dental nurse has just been offered a role yesterday for work, headhunted, £10.75 an hour. If I factor in childcare costs and bills, I'd leave with nothing every month. Been nursing since 2007, no progress in pay scales, loads of dental nurses are leaving due to the pay. I'd love nothing more than to do oral health education around schools instead of mass fluoride in the water. We have a similar, Mark in Peel said, we have a similar climate to Scotland, so can't we produce our own oat milk or other oat-based products, really? I'd certainly buy Manx oat milk over the brand leaders, says Mark in Peel. Should we be planting oats? Literally hundreds of bike tracks in South Barrule and Kringle and many more. You can do kayaking, paddleboarding, coastering, sailing, scuba diving, fishing, horse riding, wildlife park. Agreed, you could do more, especially Douglas Promenade, but there is lots to do on the Isle of Man, says Bill, and the climate agenda is based on just guesswork, says Bill. They really don't know anything. Yes, do things as clean as possible, but what are they making people do just doesn't make any sense. And I had a question in just regarding the Manx Development Corporation and who set it up and where did it come from. So I found out it was 2021. The Manx Development Corporation is to be set up. It was set up 31st of March 2021, a new company within government set up for urban and brownfield site regeneration. The Manx Development Corporation was passed in Tynwald in the middle of March 2021. In November 2020, members tasked the Department for Enterprise with forming the body. by the end of November. It's to be established as an arm's-length, wholly government-owned company with Treasury as the sole shareholder. A small non-exec board will be set up to perform executive functions. So that's when it started, 2021. And still, the offer is open for anybody from Manx Development Corporation who wants to pop on to Mannin Line just to explain where the money's going, where the money's coming from, where are they getting the money from to do these developments, and where is the profit going to be sent? Will the profit be sent back to us, as Treasury is the shareholder, much like the steam packet? What's going to happen? Tons of emails that I didn't get to. We didn't even mention the fact that the postal services were up the creek due to an issue with the provider's aircraft. No airmail left the Isle of Man last night. Airmail was received this morning, and local to local and sea mail is unaffected, but there was no airmail because of that. Much more to talk about regarding the airport. Remember, tomorrow we're on the Climate Change Transformation Board. Daphne Kane, MHK, Dave Sowden and Clive Callister will be on, finding exactly, have they got any money? Are they using the money? Have they started? When will they finish? Daphne Kane of the Climate Transformation Board is on tomorrow. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today.
WINT